Hey everybody. So I just wanted to talk about this ridiculous disease, diabetes. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I wanted to share about how this disease, which is ridiculously simple to reverse. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes, okay? And why I get so frustrated with or anytime I hear, like, I get some bad news, or actually not just limited to my own family, but anytime I hear that someone is suffering with anything to do with type 2 diabetes, it's like incredibly frustrating for me. Because, like I mentioned a little while ago, it is incredibly simple to reverse. Talking about type 2 diabetes here, okay? I've lost family members close to me, my grandmothers, both my grandmothers, to complications of type 2 diabetes, okay? My paternal grandmother is actually the closest person to me that has suffered, that she did suffer, like horrendous complications. And she is the first one that I lost. To be honest with you, I can't remember which grandmother I lost first. My mother's mother or my father's mother. I don't remember which one I lost first. But I grew up very close to my paternal grandmother, okay, and she had type 2 diabetes. She also had like heart disease, she had angina, she had other things. I can say that in retrospect, I was a young adult when I lost my grandmother, my dad's mother. She suffered. All right. So, so I'm just doing a head count of how many people that I know off the top of my head right now that have been affected by diabetes. How many people in my family, okay? So we've got my two grandmothers, my mother, who else? Sorry, I'm just like, I keep getting interrupted with phone call. I don't know why right now is the time everybody wants to talk to me. But okay, so my two grandmothers, my mother, I actually have to keep swiping stuff out of the way. Two, three uncles. I have one uncle that has recently had an amputation. My grandmother, my father's mother, we'll call her my Grandma Jessie, so that way I don't have to keep saying my father's mother, who passed away, I think, in 1998 or 99, or maybe even a little later than that. I don't remember the specifics right now. She had her toe was amputated. Then she lost, I believe it was above her knee, I think. And then we lost her shortly after that. Diabetes is such a devastating disease. You can lose limbs. It affects your vision. Other symptoms, and actually what I've heard was, and I haven't like investigated this thoroughly, but I've just read some articles here and there about a type 4 diabetes, which is like Alzheimer's or dementia. I can't remember. Sometimes I get the two intermixed. But I just kind of did this video on the fly because I was laying down, I was taking a rest, and I started thinking about how many people in my family are directly affected. Oh, another aunt. I have one aunt that passed. She had a stroke, but she was a diabetic, and I'm sure that those two are related to each other. The two issues, just because of what I've seen my mother go through, I'm not sure what the statistics are, like what your chances are of having a stroke because of diabetes, but I see that, that within my family that these two things, they come in twos, they come together. It's my mother had a stroke, um, and when my mom had the stroke, her blood sugar was at 500. And I'll get into talking about this more because I had gestational diabetes. I believe five of my 14 pregnancies, including my twins, that I can remember. I may have had, of those 5 pregnancies, maybe 2 of those were borderline, but I can say because of the way I felt, maybe I really was actually a diabetic, and maybe I might have just had that one because I was fasting. I might have had one good fasting blood sugar result, but, or two. But my point is, like I said, is I was just thinking about how this disease, how much it has affected my family, and how crazy it is that if my family members now living with the disease, if they were to tweak a couple things, they could probably reverse a lot of their symptoms and start to feel better. This video isn't going to be medical advice or telling people what to do. It's just that, like what I did for my mom, I put her on a low carb diet. I put her on the keto diet. And I'll go into more details later about how I helped my mom. But basically, right after she had the stroke, her blood sugar, or actually around the time when they took her to the emergency room, her blood sugar was at 500. And I drove out to California to go visit with my mom right after she had the stroke. And I was frustrated because the doctors put her on the diabetic diet, and they wanted to bring down her blood sugar gradually. And they were like, their best hopes were to get her at like 200 within 2 weeks. And I was thinking, that's crazy. Like, you just had a stroke. And I'd seen the results that happened with me. And so I drove out to California. I think it was like the next day or the next day and a half after she had her stroke. And I like immediately put her on the keto diet. And that day, actually it was the next morning, because when I got there, I fed her a keto lunch, keto dinner, and then I fed her a keto breakfast. And then I tested her blood sugar, and this number is like seared in my memory, and her blood sugar was 124. Can you believe that? Can you believe that within a matter of days and really hours, how low we were able to accomplish, how quickly we were able to lower her blood sugar and accomplish that, And then shortly after that, I took her to a follow-up appointment, and the doctor had no choice but to take her off the insulin shots because her blood sugar was so low that it would have been crazy to put her for her to continue on insulin. It would be dangerous. So we followed doctor's orders, and the doctor was like, "How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, the ketogenic diet." And as much as she didn't argue with me or tell me, "Oh, hey, that's dangerous for your mom," she didn't say anything like that. She just said, "Well, it's working, so, go ahead, keep doing it." And she couldn't argue. You can't argue with numbers. That's the thing, is you cannot argue with numbers. So like I said, I'm not telling anybody to do this. I made sure that I covered my bases and that I was checking my mom's blood sugar. and that I was in contact with her doctors, in communication with her doctors. But oh my gosh, what an awful, awful disease diabetes is. And all I can say is research, research, research. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. And hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.